Okay, so after playing, I think I'm over 50 hours now on Granite because I got a copy of it 2 weeks ahead of time. I played 30 to 35 hours before release, and I played about 15 hours since release. After playing through the game one full time, and I'm like halfway through the game now, after looking at my experience, listening to the people, or reading the stuff people are saying in my chat, watching other people play the game, reading comments on my YouTube, I wanted to make this video so that I can provide feedback, both positive and negative, on the current and future state of Grounded 2. So what I'm going to start off with is all the things I like about the game. So first up, we're going to take a look at the map here, and I think for me personally, the amount of content in the game at launch, I was happy with the amount of content. I think it's in the middle in terms of like the first game had very little. Other games at launch in early access might have like 100 hours of content. This has, like, for me personally, it took me 21 hours to finish the final main story the first time through, and I did not rush it. Other people are saying they're finishing it faster. If you beeline the story, you probably can speed run it in less than 10 hours, but that's your choice. I think the map there's a good chunk of the map. I think there's enough stuff to do. There's a lot of things to collect, and overall, with the amount of content at launch right now, the actual amount of content, I'm happy with all that. I like the fact that they added the buggies. I think the buggies are a cool system. And I'm gonna try to like remember everything here, but the buggies are a cool system. Being able to ride on the buggies around, using them in combat with you, being able to get places you can't get. The buggies, cool system. Also, I love the fact that the buggies have like 30 inventory slots here. That's 30 extra inventory slots that I can dump stuff into because I don't play on low mode, so my buggies can't permanently die. I play on medium. I can just, every time my inventory gets full, I can just dump stuff over here and not have to worry about not being able to pick stuff up or losing it. Now, if you're playing multiplayer, that's probably even better because then if there's 2, 3, or 4 of you, you'll literally be able to take everything you want back and forth with you. The turret is absolutely awesome now. I think they've super buffed it over the first game. When the orc raids happen, I can deal with them like very easily as long as they walk where I can see them, which they usually do because where I've built here, they walk over here, and really cool. I love the quality of life stuff. I don't know if I have anything in my inventory right now. I can walk in here. Let's see if anything deposits. It probably won't because I've already deposited stuff. I can literally walk into my base, press one button. Everything that I want deposited will go into the appropriate chest. That's awesome. I can also craft from storage. Anything I need to craft here that's in my storage chest, that's in my house. The craft from storage has a pretty large radius too. Like, it's actually really large because I had weed stems over here. This is where my weed stems have been setting, all the way over here on these pallets. And I was able to build, like, I think the back part of the roof using those weed stems. So the craft from storage range is definitely awesome. I like the new creatures. There's like snails. You can see snail shells here. There's probably going to be a caterpillar up here on the leaf because I don't think I've killed the one up here on the leaf recently. The new creatures, I like the design of the new creatures. I like the fact that there's passive, aggressive, neutral ones. I don't know where there's usually one up here. Maybe I have killed it recently. The cockroaches have like 2 phases sometimes. I like that. There's just a good amount of new stuff. There's new weapons. There's new armor. There's new weapons and armor from new creatures. There's also new weapons and armor from previous creatures. So every creature you kill now, it feels like, if I'm correct, let me go into the menu. I'm just going to go in here real quick and quickly look at what's currently in the game in terms of like armor. I'm pretty sure every creature that's in the game has at least one armor or weapon piece that goes with it. There's also a lot of them drop trinkets. I'm not sure exactly how many of them drop trinkets, but a lot of them drop trinkets. So there's that. I like the fact that mutations are in the game, but they've streamlined them. The first game had so many mutations that I never used. So having mutations in the game, I like the fact that they're in the game, and I like the fact that they streamlined it so there's not just like a bunch of them that nobody's ever going to use, or that are only going to be used in like one very specific circumstance. Milk Moller's back in the game. Cool collectible here. I guess I can actually use these while we're sitting here. I won't though. But the milk molars, that's something you can go around the map and collect. I like that. We got the creatures. We got the creature cards are back, so you can peep the creatures, see their strengths and weaknesses. Here's one of the new creatures, the butterfly. And this is like my newer save, so I don't have all the cards and stuff like that. I think you can get most of the cards right now. Gold cards make a comeback, so gold cards are used to unlock one of the mutations. So that's pretty cool. We got this is just the general stuff that you find around the map. That's similar. The sights and wonders, these are going to be all the different like POIs that are around the map. And then we got the special items and stuff you find here. So the map, like I said, huge map, and it's got like lots of POIs around it. I think the map is it's populated enough. It's like densely enough populated that there's not a lot of dead spots. There's creatures pretty much everywhere. There's resources pretty much everywhere. So you're not gonna like. I remember when the first game launched, you would go over to like around the pond. The pond had nothing in it, and there was just like grass all around it. Everywhere within these dotted lines you can explore, and everywhere within these dotted lines is gonna have something to do. There's gonna be some kind of resource, some kind of enemy, some kind of POI, something to find. So overall, I think that's really cool. I like the new combat. Let's see if I can go find a. I like the fact like you can dash, you can block. With the perfect blocks, like with this perfect block shield here does like has an effect. I'll see if I can find a law mite. Of course, when I'm looking for the law mites, I will not be able to find them, but I like the combat. I like the fact that creatures can block. Maybe I'll find a soldier ant while I'm talking over here. So the fact that the creatures can actually block now, you can actually use your mount for combat. The mounts can actually progress your mutations, which I don't know if that's intentional or not, but they can. The mounts can actually progress your mutations. Like if you're on the mount, you can get perfect block unlocked. You can get the which one? Parry Master unlocked by using it. You can unlock Cardio Fan by using it. Again, I don't know if that's intended or not, but it's definitely a cool feature. And I have no idea if I'm going to be able to find an enemy to show it off, but you've probably seen the combat. Like Ore Weavers can throw up shields. The Soldier Ants get into a defensive stance. Here's a Soldier Ant. Let's see if we can get it to go into its defensive stance. So look at that. Like that shield has a cool effect. Now, here it is in its defensive stance. I like that. So you have to think, am I going to attack it? Is it going to attack me? And it just makes combat more interesting. Now I'm going to decimate him because I have OP gear right now for these fights. But combat overall, I like it for the most part. And then I'm trying to, is there anything, there's trinkets in the game. So like I said, a lot of the enemies drop trinkets. That's pretty cool. There's features carried, a lot of the features carried over that I already mentioned, but there's other features where like if you hit an enemy with a there's like a spicy staff you can hit enemies with, or I guess spicy arrows too. And there's actually a spicy sword, yeah. That'll actually turn the enemies, the aphids, weevils and stuff, grubs. I think it turns all the things that drop meat into roast, which you can immediately eat. That's pretty cool. The cookery, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but the cookery does not spoil food, or at least it spoils it at a very low rate. So everything I've put in the cookery, like there might be food sitting in here. This food's been sitting in here. There's no spoilage on it. I don't think it has a spoilage meter because I usually fill this up with like 3 or 4 things and I take out one at a time and I use it and then I come back and I have food forever. The food does spoil on the roasting spit, but it does not spoil in the cookery currently. I like that. I also glanced over the fact that the spike strips seem really good. Like they actually kill stuff when they walk into it instead of instantly getting destroyed by like anything that's above like a red worker ant. So that's pretty cool as well. Omni Tool. The Omni Tool I know has been a little bit divisive. I'm going to talk about what I like about the Omni Tool, but I'm also, because a lot of people have talked about the Omni Tool, I'm going to talk about what people don't like about the Omni Tool. So the Omni Tool is a combination of the axe, the hammer, the shovel, and the repair tool. I like the Omni Tool because it doesn't take up inventory slots, it doesn't have durability, and it's just overall fine for me. I have no problem walking up to something and pressing on, in this case on mouse and keyboard, pressing E, and it will just harvest it. Like I am perfectly fine with this. And I like the fact, like I said, less inventory space taken up, no inventory space taken up. And also, and as you'll see here, here's the shovel. So then I can just get this grub here. So it's an all-in-one tool that you unlock. It as upgrades you unlock by using bug parts and other resources. So I like that. I'm going to say right now, though, that a lot of people have been giving me feedback that they don't like the current use of the Omni Tool. They would prefer the Omni Tool be in the hotbar, that it be like, oh, I equip the Omni Tool, then I use it. So it's all 4-in-1, but it only takes up 1 inventory space. So there is feedback on that. Also, it sounds like people don't like having to just walk up and be prompted to attack it. They want to actually, like I said, have it in their hand. And so that's something to think about. And I think a lot of people have been saying that. It seems like I'm in the minority here, at least from my experience. I can't say for 100%, but from my experience, it sounds like, and here's the hammer, we'll just show that. I personally like the way it is now, but it seems like more people don't like it. They would prefer it be closer to basically be like the same as the first game, except just combine it all in one. And for me, don't have durability. Because if you put it on the hotbar and put durability on it, I'm going to be mad at all those people that asked me to put this in this video. But yes, that's that. Other than that, there's lots of building blueprints. So like you can put blueprints down. So if I put a wall up, we'll just put a wall up here. We're going to show off the new wall if I can actually build it. So there's like blueprints. You can build the wall. I have the parts for it. I can hot build it. And we have that. So, and there's also some new building pieces. There's this. Well, I guess I'll put the roof up because I have not even personally seen what the roof looks like. So let's do a thatched roof. Not that one. We'll do a flat one. We'll just do it. Well, how does it work? Small one. I think this grass is making it look weird. I'm just going to put it up here so it connects because it doesn't matter, and build this. I have no milkweed chunks. There's no way. Anyway, that's there's a new roof piece and stuff like that. So Oh, no, I do have milky chunks. They were just too far away. So that's the new building stuff, which I like. It looks pretty cool. Gives you a different look. So overall, I like that. I like the fact that you can copy blueprints. I like the fact that you can, let's see, what else is there? Smoothies are in the game. I mean, basically all the stuff, a lot of the stuff from the first game is in the game. And I like, I guess that's, I'll wrap it up there, what I like. So those are the things I like. Now I'm going to hop out of the game in a second and talk about things that I would like to see changed. One of them I wanted to show in the game because I guess I'll have to, I don't know what other people think about this, but I saw somebody build out of these new thatched walls here, or the windowed walls, or the pine walls here yesterday, and they thought the same thing I did. I do not like, I personally would like to have both sides be the same. I like this design right here. I do not like this design at all. And if you're going to keep this design, if that's the decision, this looks like it's upside down. Like this looks like this is supposed to be the outside part. So this would be like shingles. Shingles on a house are supposed to be stacked the opposite direction because theoretically, if it rained, water would literally get behind these. So if you're going to keep this as a design, it would make sense for them to be doing a 180 reverse so that the shingles are coming down. But I personally prefer the wall to be both the same on both sides. So, and I guess also why I'm in the game, I'll mention, we'll show these off because I'm going to talk about them. These snail shells are in the game and I can't harvest them. Pine cones over there, we're going to talk about in a second. So let me hop over to what the things that I want to talk about in terms of like design choices and stuff like that I hope will be looked at. And then I'll talk about like what I think about the future of the game. All right. So I've received a lot of feedback in, like I said, my comment section during the live streams I've done, watching other people's live streams, seeing what people are saying on during their live streams, listening to the people streaming, seeing what they're saying. And then also from my experience. And one thing I think there was an expectation from a lot of people, myself included. I didn't expect Grounded 2 to be literally a finished game at launch. Like obviously that was not going to happen. We knew it was going to be like the first act of the game. And like I said, I'm fine with the amount of content. I've enjoyed my time with the game so far, for the most part. There's been some things that there was some minor annoying things, but for the most part, my time with Grounded in the 50 plus hours, I would say 50 of the 55 hours I played of it, or whatever the number was, I've been having fun with it and enjoying it. And I'm playing through the game a second time on stream, and I'm going to do that and play all the way through it. And then if my kids decide they want to play it this week, I'll probably play it with them too, and I'll be perfectly fine with that. But I think the issue a lot of people have is we have Grounded over here, which is the original game, and they have Grounded 2, which has been advertised as being the first game, but bigger, right? Like they've said the existing map is the same size as the entire map in the first game, which means that the existing map is, and when I just showed it, the existing map looks like it's only taking up somewhere between maybe like 20 to 35% of the 20 to 30% of the map, I would say, maybe like a quarter, a fifth to a quarter to a fifth of the map or something like that. It looks like it's taking up right now. So I think what a lot of people were expecting was not everything in terms of like, I mean, at least I wasn't. Every creature from the first game, every weapon from the first game, I didn't expect that. I was hoping there'd be variation, which we've gotten. But I think feature-wise, system-wise, quality of life-wise, I think a lot of people expected everything from the first game that we enjoyed from it. And the things I touched upon, like a hot deposit, craft from storage, the blueprints, those are all really cool quality of life things that the game has that honestly every other game should have at this point, and many do not. Like, I can't tell you how many games I play that don't have craft from storage, and I literally just don't want to play them because of that. Hot deposit is a must. Spending time having to manage your inventory is extremely annoying in a lot of games. Grounded makes it so much easier. You can literally walk in, press a button, and hot deposit everything. You can craft anything from storage. It's awesome. But there are features that are missing, and I've made a little bit of list here. This is the list I came up with. Also, before I recorded this video, I was talking with my chats on Twitch and YouTube for over an hour, kind of getting feedback to see if I missed anything. This is not going to be 100% exhaustive. I'm sure there's something missing from here. You can let me know in the comments down below. But this is a list of things, major things that I've seen, and that I've seen other people talk about. First up, there's no scabby collectibles. So you cannot, in the first game, part of the game was, and it might have been like at the very beginning. I think it was at the very beginning. I don't know. It was definitely during early access. There were scabby themes hidden around the yard. They were collectibles. You found them. You could customize your UI when you opened up the UI, right? So when you went into the menus, it would be a different color depending on if it was day or night. And a lot of people are upset that there's not scabby collectibles in the game right now. And I kind of agree with that. There is no coziness in the game right now. Coziness is on the roadmap. We're going to talk about the roadmap. Coziness was a feature that was added, I think, for 1.0, if I remember correctly. I don't remember. It was either 1.0 or like it's in Grounded 1 right now. I'm genuinely curious why coziness isn't in the game Grounded 2 from launch. It's literally a system they could have carried over. And obviously it wouldn't have made sense for us to get to coziness level 5, but certainly having coziness level 1 or 2 right now would have made sense to me. Next up is going to be zip lines. I know this was a weird one because I did a poll on this, and the poll actually had like, I think it was like 60+% of people said they were okay with zip lines not coming for a year. Because right now, when we look at the roadmap, which we'll look at in a second, the zip lines aren't coming until the summer of next year. I personally would like to have zip lines in the game right now. They existed I know they said they didn't put them in because they wanted to see how the buggies affected the game. I'm a little bit concerned that they're not coming for a year, and maybe that'll change. There's no oven in the game. So to the best of my knowledge, all of the resources that were required to make the oven in the first game exist in the second game. I'm pretty sure it was just charcoal, clay, and like, was it sticks? Was it weed stems or something? I don't know. Whatever it was, you could make, they all exist in the game and you could harvest them. Not having the oven means we can't make certain things like globs. And there are weapons in the game right now that require globs to make, and you only get enough globs to make one of the spicy coltana, and there's a minty weapon, there's a fresh weapon you find, the icicles, that you find one of, and you can get 2 mint globs to make a second of them. So there's literally weapons in the game right now that you can't make as many of them as you want. So if you're playing like with 3 friends, only one of you can have a spicy coltana, only 2 of you can have the icicles. Not having the oven in the game also means that mushrooms, which are currently in the game, or the mushrooms or the toadstools and whatever, you can harvest them, but you can't do anything with them. Like you just put them in storage and they sit there because you can't turn them into mushroom bricks, which again is coming in the future. But the fact that they were in the first game, the oven was in the first game, I'm curious why they're not in there now. Can't harvest tier 3 resources. This is a major pain point. This is one of the most prominent pain points myself, and I've heard from almost everybody that they've talked about. There are, and this is the ones I can think of. I may have missed one. I don't remember. Pine cones, snail shells, sour candy, donuts, and lint are all tier 3 resources, but currently the Omni tool, axe, and hammer can only be upgraded to tier 2. And the tier 3 update is not coming until, I think, like the winter or something. Let me scroll down to the roadmap real quick. Yes, it's not coming for like probably until early next year. So we're quite a ways away from being able to harvest them. So what this means is there's literally resources in the map that you're going to come across that you can't harvest. Specifically, one that I want to point out that you can get donut parts because magically the little worker ants can eat a donut, even though we're much stronger than them. I don't know. Anyway, but the snail shells, you can find enough snail shells from looting. I think there's like some on shelves or in chests or something in some of the ranger outposts or maybe some caves. You find snail shells. You can find enough to make a full set of the snail armor, as well as making a couple of, as well as having a couple of extra pieces left over. Now, the issue lies in the fact that you're only going to be able to make one set. So again, if you're playing multiplayer, only one person can use it. And then secondly, the repair cost requires snail shells, which we currently cannot farm ourselves. Someone did say if you get the orc weevil to blow up next to a snail shell, it'll blow up and break it. I've not tested that, and I don't know how that would be a logical way of farming them. It would not make any sense, but you have to use snail shells to repair it. That means I think you can repair, I think there's like 6 extra pieces or something like that, 5 or 6 extra pieces of snail shell. You can also upgrade it. So if you upgrade each piece 3 times, that means you get 3 repairs for each piece, plus the extra snail shells. But eventually, if you're using the snail armor all the time, it's going to break and you're not gonna be able to repair it. So it's really, like, I don't understand why there's even, to me, I would almost rather them not even have the tier 3 resources in the game right now and just add them when the tier 3 the tier 3 upgrades occur. Another thing I wanted to briefly mention upon on this was the fact that this could, like, I want to talk about performance in a second because that's a big issue, but having all these things in the game, all the sour candy, all the snail shells that don't despawn, I have snail shells, I just showed you, I have snail shells on both of my saves laying around my base that I can't harvest. They're just sitting there. Those are all taking up small amounts of memory. And the game currently, I guess now's the best time to talk about it. The game currently, the biggest issue with it is the performance. It's not running well for a lot of people. It's not, like, especially on PC. If you have, like, I have a 4090 and I have had to drop since launch, I will say. It seemed to run better before release. I had one crash before release in 30 hours. 30 to 35 hours. I had like 5 crashes in the 15 hours since then. I had a bunch of crashes yesterday to the point where I was saving after I did anything that was actually meaningful. Like every 10 to 15 minutes, I was manually saving because I could actively feel the game, feel like it was like dropping frames and feeling like it was going to crash. So I'm not sure what happened, but it needs optimization. All these little things laying around the ground, they're going to cause optimization. I mean, that's not helping optimization. Game does currently not have custom mode, which that was in the first game. I'm not sure why they decided not to put it in here, but they did. Faction activity, another one that's going to be divisive, is in the menus, but it is currently disabled. Now, if custom mode was in there, you could turn it on. Faction activity is in the menus, but it's disabled, which means it's coming at some point in the future. But it's not in the game right now. And I'll be honest with you, in the current state of the game, I'm happy that it's not in there because the base raids that happen right now are okay. Faction activity in the first game, I really hope they completely rethink how it is. Like there's got to be some way of knowing how when you're angering something. And I don't feel like building near a bug should make them angry at you. I'm sorry. Like it literally limits, in the first game, it limited the places you could build by like 90%. And it's why a lot of people went into custom and turned off faction activity. They have on the roadmap new base defenses coming, which is probably going to include this. So if they add new traps and they don't have it like where the entire map is someone's territory, then I'm fine with that. Only 1 hotbar pouch. So the first game you could have 3 hotbars of stuff to scroll through. This one only has 1. You can't upgrade the canteen. And honestly, the hunger and thirst drain feels like it's more punishing in this game for some reason. I can't say for sure if it is like mathematically, but I feel like I get thirsty all the time. Hunger is not as big an issue because you can get the well-fed bonus, but I feel like I am constantly getting thirsty, and you can't upgrade the canteen, which means if you want to have to deal with this, you're going to have to carry around multiple canteens. The weird thing is you can't upgrade the base torch, but you can get the charcoal torch, which is an upgrade, but there's no charcoal canteen. So honestly, just adding the charcoal canteen would alleviate this. You cannot quick swap between mutations. This is an interesting design choice considering the fact that the game is built around the archetype builds, which I'm going to talk about extensively at the end here. You cannot quick swap between mutations. At least I don't know how to, and nobody else has told me that you can do that, so can't do that. There's also no headlamp. So a lot of the weapons in the game are two-handed, and you can't use them in caves because it gets dark. I don't think it's reasonable to expect people to just spam the little glow sticks or spam the flares all through an entire cave just to be able to see fights in the dark. So not having some type of headlamp or way of lighting things up while holding a two-handed weapon, that's the stuff that's missing. Again, there's probably something, I'm sure I missed something here, but I think the biggest gripe that a lot of people have is there's a lot of stuff that they liked in the first game that's not in the second game. And I agree with them I agree on most of these points here that these things, I really expected a lot of these things to be in the game from the get-go. And I placed one of every item expecting coziness to eventually pop up, and it never did. And then I saw the roadmap and was like, oh, okay. So these are things that I think, especially like for me, I mean, these things are all coming in the future at some point, and I'm not gonna elaborate on when I think they should come, but I would have been happy if all these things were in the game in some form on day one. All right, so next up, let's talk about the roadmap. So I'm going to talk about the roadmap, then I'm going to talk about one specific feature and system in the game that I think has like a very catastrophic flaw that I don't know if they thought about. So the roadmap, I did a video on the roadmap, so we're not going to go through the entire roadmap here. The main thing with the roadmap is going to be, I put this out and I wanted to lay it out over here just so you could see it, because it's when you see it visually, you can understand this paints a picture of like a lot of stuff is coming, but it doesn't visualize to you when it's coming. So I looked at this and I looked at the past development and thought about like when would each of these updates fall. So right now I'm recording this on August 1st. The game came out a couple of days ago. They're saying the first update's in the fall. So I'm expecting that to probably be between sometime in mid-October to before Thanksgiving. The reason I say that is because I would expect it to happen before the holidays. I don't expect there to be much stuff being worked on from Thanksgiving through New Year's, to be completely honest. A lot of people take off at the end of the year, and I'm going to say this right up front right now. I don't want the developers on Rounded 2 or any other game having to crunch, work extra hours, or stress out about making a video game, which is supposed to be a fun thing to do. This game is supposed to be fun to play, and I hope it's fun for them to make. I don't want them to stress out about having to like work 30 hours or 20 hours a day, 7 days a week to be able to get stuff out faster. So don't take that at all. But what I wanted to lay out here was, I think the first update's not coming until October. The winter update, like I said, I don't think a lot's going to happen between Christmas and New Year's. I think the second update's going to happen in the winter based on this. And I think the summer update will probably happen a year from now. So sometime in July or maybe August. So just showing you that there's going to be a lot of dead space in here between updates. And the future plans, they have nothing. The next future plan, and also the big thing is here, there's no spring update. So there's nothing happening from possibly for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. There's going to be a giant gap in updates here. The other thing that is going on with this is like the amount of content in here, not the specific content, because I've already talked about that, but the amount of content. So if theoretically this update drops, the fall update drops in October, it's going to have what's almost certainly is the Tarantula boss. And that's basically the entire, like, it looks like the super majority of this update. There's some quality of life stuff here, which is great. But this next update is going to have very little content. The winter update looks like the big beefy update. This has in-game features, new buggies, new enemies, the upgrades to the Omni tool, new building pieces, new base defenses. This, and then being able to play it on the whatchamacallit, on not mobile, on handhelds. And then it's got something that's blurred out here that's probably some type of story progression or boss. So this update looks like the beefy update. I would consider this an update. I would consider this almost like not a hot fix, but a patch. Like this is a minor update / patch. This is a major update. Then we have the summer update, which again, there's no spring update. So you're having to wait like 5 to 6 months for this. This looks like to me like somewhere in between these two in terms of the amount of content. So what I'm saying is, like, looking at this roadmap, in the next 12 months from launch, you can only expect based on this that there's only going to be three updates, and only one of them is going to have a ton of stuff in it. And the reason that concerns me for a couple of reasons. Again, I don't want them to have to like stuff all this stuff in the next 6 months. I'm not saying that. They've made they have a design philosophy this time around, and they did this with the original Grounded game towards the end of development, was they wanted to do bigger, less frequent updates, because I think it has more impact on the game. So there's like a pro and con of this. Like, yes, the pro of it is it has more impact on the game. The con is people have to wait longer, and when people have to wait longer, they stop playing and they don't come back. That's what's going to happen. And the whole purpose of early access is for what I'm doing right now. It's to give feedback. It's for you guys to share feedback. And anybody who's watching this, anybody's watching me talk about this live, go to their Discord, leave them feedback. Watch their live streams on Tuesdays on Twitch and YouTube, leave them feedback, ask them questions. On social media, when they post stuff, ask them questions. The more feedback you give them, the more likely things will change that in the way that we would like to see them change. So anyway, this design, like for me personally, I would prefer smaller, more frequent updates like they did with the first game, because like this update right here feels like something they would have done before, where it's like, here's the pond, and like the next month they do something else, right? Like I'd rather see something like one box out of each one of these happens a month, so that like each of these, so like as an example, I'm not expecting anything right now because the main thing is going to be performance, performance is a big issue, and it's something that this schedule right here, if the performance issues take longer to resolve or to improve than they expect, there's a possibility that these dates could shift because they have to have a lot of the team working on that. I don't know. I'm sure there's different parts of the team working on like the performance versus the content, but you can't drop new content in the game if the game's running poorly. Like if the game's still running poorly and they drop all this new stuff and maybe add new parts of the map or new stuff in the map, the game's going to run even worse. So performance is a big thing that they have to overcome. So with that said, it's like, I'd rather see more updates that are less frequent like they did with the first game, because it'll keep people engaged and it'll keep people playing. Because what's going to happen is, and this happens with all early access games, it happened with the first Grounded game, it happened with literally almost every other early access game in the last couple years. People play it at launch, and then most people stop playing it after 2 to 4 weeks, something like that. I'm probably being generous here, since people have told me they've beaten this entire game in 5 to 10 hours, which means they're not gonna play, right? So like, let's say if you've done everything in this game in 2 days, and the only thing coming in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, possible 7 months is a single boss, there's a good chance you're not coming back to this game until this update here, or you might wait for 1.0. So personally for me, I'd like to see smaller chunks added at a time, just to keep, it also makes testing easier. If you add like incremental stuff, like adding all this stuff at one time means that there's a possibility of like every one of these things, it's not like you just plug this in. This isn't like you plug this into the puzzle, but it's almost like dominoes. You put a domino in, and if if something's wrong with one of these dominoes, it could knock down all the other dominoes that came before it and all the other ones that came around it. Now, hopefully everything goes well, but we all know if you've been around game development or any kind of software development at all, when you add new stuff to software or to a game, unforeseen things are going to happen. So if they add like the cricket here and the cricket completely breaks the whole game for some reason, now they have to figure out, or maybe the game has like major issues for some reason, but all this stuff's been added in like one big update. Now they have to isolate, oh man, it's just this one cricket thing is causing all this problem. It's easier to diagnose problems when you have smaller things to test out. So adding a new boss as one update, fine. But like if in November they could just add, I don't know, the tier 3 upgrades or whatever. Okay, then we test that out. Then after that, they pick one of these other boxes and add it. So that fills in the gap to here. So then they can just fill it out. So every month there's like a small amount. Now, I don't expect this to change. I think they've chosen this design philosophy for a reason, and that's fine. I'm just leaving my feedback that I think having more stuff more frequently would keep people engaged, get you more feedback from more people, and it would also make testing and diagnosing bugs and technical issues easier because you have less stuff to test. So that's kind of what I think on the roadmap. I will say that it looks like to me that the early access is probably going to be like roughly 2 years. I would guess this is a year worth of content, and then all this stuff over here is kind of generic. So I'm guessing 2 to 3 years of early access, probably similar to the first game. So that's kind of what I'm expecting. So I do want to wrap this up by talking about one feature that's on here that is mentioned that's already in the game. And I think it was honestly the reason I wanted to make this video, because this game is designed around the whole archetype thing. I'm saying archetype right? Somebody correct me. I kept saying archetypes. Archetype. The game is designed around archetypes. And I'm going to go down here and just show this is my last little drawing, I promise. Archetypes are essentially, I'm just going to give you the TLDR of them. Archetypes are, you have a build. So the one that everybody's using right now, which almost surely is going to get nerfed because it is really strong, is the rogue/assassin build. People are using daggers with ambush, and you're literally, you can one-shot mobs. I tried it myself, and I was like, as soon as I one-shot an Ore Weaver with it, with level 3 gear, because you can only level up the gear to level 3, I was like, okay, this is getting nerfed because this is way too strong. Archetypes are, you basically pick a damage type, and then you build yourself around it. So in the example of the one I just gave, the rogue build, all of the two-handed weapons, I believe, deal slashing damage because they're sickles or daggers. They all deal slashing damage. So you are now spec'd into slashing damage. And then at some of them do, there is one that has like fresh on it. And these will eventually be added to the game. Like you can't currently infuse weapons to the game since you can't make the globs. I guess I didn't mention, since you can't make the globs, you can't infuse the weapons. So like literally half the weakness and resistance system is not being, like the whole elemental side of it, if you want to call it that, is mostly ignored because there's only a couple of elemental weapons in the game. I guess unless you want to be the mage, because the mage actually does have a fresh and a spicy, but it doesn't have a salty or a sour. But anyway, so let's say you're a rogue, you pick slashing, and you go out and use it. Okay, well, spiders are really weak to slashing. Like, you just can, like, wreck them with it, right? Scorpions are resistant to slashing. I'm pretty sure that, I think it was it the no, the mantis is weak to slashing as well. But scorpions, I know, are weak to smashing. So, like, the Red Ant Club annihilates, just absolutely annihilates scorpions. So now you have your slashing build, and we're going to assume that we're in a world here where the ambush attack is not literally one-shotting everything. So let's be realistic here. When things are balanced out and you can't just run around just sneaking up on everything and one-shotting it so that it completely nullifies this entire system over here, when it's balanced and it's not doing that, when you try to do a slashing damage against something that's resistant to it, like a scorpion, it's going to take you forever to kill it. So what are you going to do? You're going to do the first thing you did, like the same thing you did when you played the first game, and that's going to be, you're probably going to carry one of each weapon type. I don't even know if this is all of them, but this is the ones I thought, like smashing, slashing, stabbing. I think that's most of them. You're going to, because they've consolidated some. There's no axe, there's no hammer, there's just clubs, right? So what you're going to do is like, oh, I'm fighting a scorpion. I'm a rogue, but I'm going to switch to my Red Ant Club to kill the scorpion, because even though I don't have the smasher mutation on there, it doesn't matter because I'm just going to kill it fast anyway, knowing that. So that what that does is that completely nullifies the whole archetype thing. Like, archetypes then don't exist, because if you're an archetype, you are literally using a single build for everything. And that does not work with the weakness and resistance system that's in the game right now. At least not as I see it. And when I explained this to other people, they were like, you know what, you're right. It doesn't make any sense. So this is the entire game is designed around this. They spent a lot of time talking about this in the lead up to the game, in the interviews for it. They showed off like the rogue build. They showed off all these cool different builds. They don't work because it's not going to work because most of the damage types have things that are resistant to it, which means you're going to have to carry other weapons. And it just, so like once everything's balanced out and the weapons are doing the right amount of damage, you're not going to be able to use slashing against something that's resistant to it. You're going to have to use smashing if that's what it's weak to. Same thing with stabbing. Another one's going to be if you choose to be an archer. Archers do use bows, and the arrows do stabbing damage. Almost all of the beefy enemies in the first game were resistant to stabbing to prevent people from cheesing everything. You could still kill things with a bow. It would just take way longer. That's going to happen in this game too. That means if you're an archer, you're going to take way longer to kill anything that's resistant to stabbing damage than like, I don't know if scorpions maybe. I'm trying to think. I know spiders are. Spiders, as an example, are resistant to stabbing. So yeah, you can kill that wolf spider with your bow. It might just take you 5 minutes. Somebody else walks up to it with a spicy katana and just annihilates it in 10 seconds. So it's like the weakness and resistance system was fine in the first game because the first game was designed around carrying a bunch of different weapons. If they want to have the archetype thing, in my opinion, they need to remove the resistance and weakness to damage types and only have it be based on the infusion type down here, or elemental, whatever you call it, fresh, salty, spicy, sour, or they need to have the weakness and resistance is literally scorpions are weak on the tail. So if you hit on the tail, you do double damage. If you hit it anywhere else, like if you hit on the claws, you do less damage. Like that's how they're going to have to balance the archetype thing if they want to keep it. If they keep the archetype, if they keep the current design of the archetype system in the game now with the weakness and resistance system, it's just going to end up being exposed even more in the long run because as more enemies are added and as they balance things more, you're going to find that it's taking forever to kill an enemy with the wrong weapon. If you fight something that's resistant to like salty stabbing and you're using salty arrows, or you're using a salty mosquito needle or something, or a salty spear, you're literally not going to be able to kill. It's going to take you forever to kill it, which means it's going to take longer. You're more likely to die. You're more likely to take damage. You're going to use more resources repairing stuff. Whereas if they didn't have the damage type resistance or weakness, and they just had this, if you're an archer, you could just carry each of the different types of arrows and not worry about it. You could just carry, if you want to be a barbarian or whatever, and you just want to run around, or a warrior, and you just run around with a club, you could carry a club and just have a club of each type, and that would solve the problem. But what's going to end up happening now is it's going to be the same repeat of the first game. You're going to have to run around with a bunch of different weapons and different combinations if you want to effectively and efficiently kill everything. So that's my main thing right now. Fix the performance, and then really, really need to look at how the archetype system is going to function in the long run, because as it is in the game right now, in my opinion, it does not work, and it will not work, and it's going to become more problematic in the long run if nothing's changed. And my suggestion for how to get rid of it, how to fix this, is to eliminate damage types from the game. Just eliminate them, or not. You don't have to actually. You could have them attached to the mutations, but eliminate damage types from the weakness and resistance pool. Only have enemies be weak or resistant to specific types of upgrades: fresh, salty, spicy, or sour, or whatever else you might add in the future. And that would solve the problem. That would literally solve the problem. That would be the easiest way of solving it. But I will leave it up to the developers to determine how they decide to think about this, if they even see it as a problem. If they don't see it as a problem, that's fine. The reality is this: no matter what they do, it's their decision, and they have to do what they think is best for the game. We only see what we see right now. We don't see the entire puzzle. There's already a puzzle that's been put together that they're trying to put, that they're slowly putting the pieces out for it over time between now and 1.0 and then after 1.0. We don't know the whole puzzle. We don't know what the end game. We don't know what the end game is, like what they want it to be at the end. I'm just giving my feedback based on what I see right now, what I could see in the long run possibly causing hurdles that would have to be overcome, and possibly, I guess harming the experience for people in the game. I'm going to wrap this up by saying that I am happy with the current amount of content in the game. Personally, I think they put enough content in the game. I'm happy with all the things I mentioned in the beginning. I'm really happy they put out a roadmap and that they are relatively specific in here without putting dates in. This is a good roadmap. I like to see this, and I hope that this gets updated regularly. And overall, I'm happy with the game. And I feel like if they address the performance issues and a couple of other things, that I think most people will, the people that were upset about the game at launch will flip-flop, and now they'll be happy with it. And in the long run, I expect this game to just end up being better than the original. The original game was a great survival game in the end, and I think this will end up just being a better survival game than that. So it'll end up being, like I said, for me, probably it'll be in my top 3 to 5 survival games of all time at the end of the day, and probably for the future. Like, of the games I have right now, it's definitely sitting in the top like 5, even though it's not complete, and I'm happy with that. So that's kind of my feedback right now. I will do these videos periodically as like if this roadmap gets updated, if changes happen, if there's like a big patch, or if there's like patch notes, if they decide to, when an update comes out, I'm always going to do these videos when I come across something that I think is worth discussing. I'm going to keep it as constructive and positive as possible. I'm not going to hold back though on pointing out things that I think are flawed, but I'm going to try to do it in a more constructive manner than I did the first time around. And hopefully everybody can appreciate that. So anyway, let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with me. Did I miss anything? If there's anything you want to see that I didn't cover, put it in the comments down below. There's a good chance that someone from the development team will see this at some point, or they'll be told about it. And even if they don't, if thousands of people watch this video or whatever, hopefully, then those people will be able to share their feedback, and it'll just help move the game in the right direction. And in the end, we'll have the best possible version of Grounded 2 that we can. So anyway, if you found the video insightful, if you enjoyed it, whatever, if you like these kind of videos, make sure to hit the like button, consider subscribing for more content just like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.